Well guys, what I have here is a PC which I genuinely did not want to build. And this is not a clickbait title. I literally did anything I could to tell the guy I built this PC for to get different components. But he just wanted those. And now in the end, I have to admit, I kind of like how it came out. I wanted to make, a nice video just telling you guys all the mistakes he made and how you guys can avoid it when speccing out a PC. Starting out from the case, which is the Fractal Design North XL. And basically the whole thing is he wanted to fill it up with RGB fans. And I thought this PC was like a very office minimal oriented case, which would have been a lot better off just with no RGB, maybe some white accent inside. Definitely, I would have preferred the version with the side panel in glass. But here we got the mesh one. With the RGB, it filters through the side panel and it surprisingly looks good. So I guess it was a good choice. One thing though I will not accept is the MSI cooler. This thing is just absolutely trash. I mean, it has the pump integrated in the radiator and the water block is still like very thick. The fans do not come pre-mounted, you have to mount them yourself. And overall, the cooling performance is a lot inferior to, for example, the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3, which is a lot cheaper than this. We could have still improved something. Also, I don't love the power supply we went with. We got like an 850 watt 80 plus gold iTech unit, which is decent, but this build is rocking a Ryzen 9 1700X and an RTX 4080 Super, which I sped unboxed, by the way. I will show you guys my speed unboxing. Now, another thing which I wasn't really agreeing with was buying a 7th gen Ryzen now that 9th gen Ryzen are out. However, I have to say, like, AMD increased the price on their X3D models. I don't know if you guys noticed, but they did it silently. Like, they all went up about $50, and it's not just the period of the year where we have more demand for PC parts, but it's quite simply that they feared that the X3D components would cannibalize their new Ryzen 9000 series, because the Ryzen 7 1700X 3D is faster than the Ryzen 7 9700X. So they just increased the price. Not the best choice. Of course, they justify it by saying that, it's because they stopped production. Sure. But anyways, buying an X3D chip at the moment is a bad idea, but this chip actually is a lot lower in price. You can buy it at the moment for $330 for a 12-core 24-threaded Ryzen 9 with pretty good performance. So it was actually a pretty good buy. What I didn't like is he got an X670E and used the Gen 4 drive and doesn't use the extra connectivity. So I made a full video about like the right AMD motherboard to buy and which one not to buy, where I explained that literally X670E is a terrible buy unless you have like Gen 5 drives or you need the extra connectivity, which he doesn't. So that still is a bad buy. So that was a bad buy. Power supply is a bad buy. Cooler is a bad buy. CPU, surprisingly, is a good one. 4080 Super, I want to say decent buy. Like RTX 5000 is very close, so but at least it's not a 4090, so it's pretty good. And not everybody can run AMD cards. I personally made the switch recently to the 1700 XTX, but if you're working or if you need the better functionality on NVIDIA, you can't just buy an AMD card, so I understand getting a 4080 Super. It wasn't too bad, but come on, the power supply didn't even have ATX 3.0 cables. Like, I put a touch of mine even in this build. And aside from the fans, which I swapped out, and they're all iceberg thermal fans, which I think look great, but I convinced him to get the best RAM on the market for packaging. This is the Valkyrie Asgard DDR5, and this thing looks even better than XPG with their anime girls on the packaging. I mean, just take a look at the night on the packaging. It's just very nice, and the RAM inside has little protection covers over the pins. I love Asgard stuff, guys. I just really like the RAM. And it's really fast, like it's 7600 megahertz RAM, 30GB kit. And I was able, surprisingly, to make it run stable on AM5, which is very difficult because AM5 likes 6000 megahertz the most. By the way, if you need help to tweak your RAM, go check out my AM5 RAM overclocking guide where I explain how to do it. But yeah, just tighten the timings, raise some voltages, and if you're lucky, it's gonna run well. That's also the plus of getting a Ryzen 9. Motherboard also was surprisingly decent for timing management. It's not as good as an Asus ROG Maximus, but it was pretty okay. But again, best thing about this build is the case, which is what I like the least. Okay, it has gold-plated buttons on top. Since it's an E80X case, it is so much spacious. You can put anything you want inside of it. Building it was super easy. And also this little side panel here where we put some high-tech wireless fans, this thing helps a lot with temperature. Now the thing is running really quiet. I'll tell you the maximum temperature we reach. Now let's not talk about CPU because cooler is terrible, okay? But the graphics card, 4080 Super Ventus, pretty power hungry card, it stayed at 65 degrees under full load, which is pretty good. And also we saw an 80 degrees maximum memory temperature, which is very good if you consider that this is a card with a lot of VRAM, and that's because of the fans pushing air directly on the VRAM, which is nice. Now this expansion side panel here, basically, you can take it off anytime. And now it's a bit tricky with, you know, the cables, you have to keep them connected, but you can just take it off even with the PC running, as I'm showing you in the footage right now. On the front, you can mount up to 140mm fans. I put 120s because we are poor, didn't have good 140s on hand. But even with 120s, since the front is this wood-like panel, it filters through and they don't look ugly. I really like the bottom design with the PSU shroud, the way they made it, and also they have double cutouts inside the case, which is very important for E80X motherboard. So to wrap this video up, I didn't want to do this build this way. I did it anyway, it came out great. Buy the Fractal Design North XL if you have like 180 bucks to spend and you want a big case, which is gonna be a bit more unique than most builds out there. Definitely recommended. Asgard RAM is very good, genuinely. And if you need a lot of cores for productivity, Ryzen 9 7900X is a pretty good buy at the moment. Let me know what you think about it, and I hope to see you guys in another video. And maybe check out the channel in the meantime for more detailed builds and overclocking and undervoltage tutorials. Bye bye.